What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Ultimate Career. It is episode number 2 of season 4 here for the Malaysian Grand Prix. You guys absolutely smashed the likes on the last episode as always, so if you could do the same today, that would be fantastic. I'll once again aim for 100 likes as the target. Without further ado, let's see how we get on. So last time out in the Ultimate Career, we were at the Albert Park circuit for the first race of the season, and it didn't go too badly. We definitely had the pace to get onto the podium, but a poor tyre strategy left us in 5th place. The race winner, as you can see on your left hand side, was Lewis Hamilton, with pole going to Sebastian Vettel, who in fact DNF'd from the race. If you haven't checked that one out, it was a really good one, so go and do so. You can see the driver's standings there on your right. But getting in now to today's race, and you can see we are at the Sepang International Circuit. Fernando Alonso dominated the weekend last time, but we did manage to get onto the podium. Just quickly on the R&D front, obviously we're still at the flyaway races, so there are no major upgrades from the Australian Grand Prix, with Mercedes looking as if they're trying to resolve their tyre wear issues early on this weekend. Caterham and Malaysia, on the other hand, they look as if they've dropped right back in the field towards the rear, so we'll have to see how they get on. And the Williams car is especially struggling for some consistency over the on the long run pace, but we'll have to see how everyone gets on now for qualifying. The qualifying session for the Malaysian Grand Prix then was upon us, and it was a session that was meant to be plagued by rain, but in the end it was McLaren that stole the show in a dry qualifying. Sergio Perez managed to take his first pole for the famous team, and his teammate Jenson Button would line up third. Ferrari once again showed some impressive pace in the hands of Fernando Alonso. He will line up on the front row of the grid with the Mexican Perez, but his teammate Felipe Massa once again couldn't perform to the best of his abilities. He'll start 7th. Red Bull were perhaps the disappointment of the qualifying session, more notably Sebastian Vettel. The pole sitter from Australia could only manage 12th, but his teammate Mark Webber will start 4th. Mercedes once again showed some solid pace, with Nico Rosberg managing 6th, but his new teammate Lewis Hamilton will be starting just inside the top 10 in 9th. The Williams once again failed to show pace in the hands of the new man Sam Bird, who will start 13th, but myself, I will be starting on the 3rd row of the grid in 5th. Lotus showed that they were going to be contenders on Sunday with a good tyre strategy, with both of their drivers finishing inside the top 10, Raikkonen this time out-qualifying Grosjean. Caterham were once again back towards the rear of the grid, Charles Pic this time managing just 19th, and Guido van der Garde will start last. It was the same story over at Malaysia, with Jules Bianchi only managing 20th, Max Chilton will start just behind him in 21st. Taking a quick look at the top 12 on the grid then, Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso will start at the front, myself in 5th. It's all lining up for a fantastic Grand Prix. Let's get into it. It's race day then in Malaysia for the Malaysian Grand Prix, of course, and we're jumping into our car. We've got 28 laps ahead of us today, and it is going to be a very interesting race if last time out was anything to go by, of course, with the strategy. Now, we've left ourselves in a reasonably good position, you know, qualifying wise, but we know that Malaysia is tough on the tyre wear, and you can see there our race strategy. We're going to go 2 option stints and 2 prime stints, but there's no way that we can get away with anything less than a 2-stopper. And now let's get out to the grid. Here we go then, starting in 5th position for the Malaysian Grand Prix. The red lights are coming on now, and what can we do going into the first corner? And it is 5 lights, and away we go here. And we get a little bit bogged down on the start, the same as quite a lot of others as well. Rosberg's going to go round that outside. Webber got a poor start, and so did Perez. And I think that's Felipe Massa as well, who's going to try and go round the outside. But we hold our own, and there Mark Webber and Sergio Perez still going slowly, and that's someone else on the inside. It's Lewis Hamilton, who has had a brilliant start. He started down in 9th position, as we saw in the qualifying report, and he's going to end the first few corners in 3rd place by the looks of it. We get past Webber up into 5th, but the real action is ahead with Hamilton and Perez as we break right into Sergio Perez pretty much. But we're going to go down the inside of the Mexican who tried to take a look at the 2008 World Champion. But we go around the outside of Lewis Hamilton and take 3rd place. What a first lap this has been so far. And as we take a look at the replay now, you can just see what carnage it was at the start. Take a look at Hamilton actually on the left hand side of your screens. Keep an eye on him, see how far back he was, and then all of a sudden he just comes out of nowhere, goes down the inside. We get a little bit muscled out into turn turn 1, and then, well, Hamilton just comes into his own at this stage, goes round the outside, and that is a brilliant move from him. And now this is where we sort of come into our own. As we take a look now at the onboard shot, you can see that we just go down the inside there of Mark Webber. There's cars everywhere, and there's dust flying everywhere as well, but we try and hold it round the outside of Webber, which we do, and then all of a sudden we're making up another position on Perez before finally getting the job done on our fellow countryman Lewis Hamilton to get up into the top 3 of this race, and off into the distance we go. Now you can see there's quite a gap towards the top 2 in fact as we go off the circuit slightly there, but anyway, skipping a couple of laps onwards on lap 3 now, and Perez is in fact just behind us. So Hamilton has dropped down a further position, and now as we switch to the onboard shot, can see that we're going to try and hold this position, but DRS is now active as we are on lap 3 of the Grand Prix. We slipped into 7th gear, but we slipped down into 4th place as well, which is very much a shame. And you can just see we're struggling so much with tyre wear at such an early stage, which was really frustrating for me. But nonetheless, we are going to carry on in P4 and use that DRS to try and get a run on Perez, switch down to standard mix as we go into turn 1, but it's not going to be quite enough, I don't think. And we sort of outbrake ourselves, in fact, into the final corner there. And as we go through turn 2, we just block off the threat from Hamilton, but we are struggling so much on these tyres now. And going later on onto lap 4, still on the same lap, in fact, and you can see that we're going to lose another position by the looks of things now. Hamilton goes round the outside, but we're going to try and hold our own, go down the inside, and you can see we just lose out on the DRS, but Hamilton is going to get it surely now into turn 1. We've just got to try and hold our own with no DRS. It's such a wide track, so easy to overtake, and we flicked onto the tyre gauge there. You can see how worn the old tyres are, but going now into turn 1, you can just see we slip down the inside of Lewis Hamilton. It's going to be a vital position to keep, and there we are, staying in P4, but in fact just one corner later you can just see how much that tyre wear is affecting us, so surely we're going to have to come into the pit lane pretty soon. And yeah, you can see coming towards the end of this lap, we've got a massive train of cars behind us, demonstrated by that little shot of the track there. But once again, I think Hamilton is going to try for a move on us, and we move up to mix 3, and there is a gaggle of cars behind us, and surely they're going to get past us, at least one of them. But trying to hold our own into the final corner. We are 3 wide and we outbrake ourselves because we're going straight into that pit lane. Nowhere else we'd rather be at this stage. And going down into lean mix for the pit lane. And, well, that battle could actually continue later on in the race. Or, you know, going onto these prime tyres at an early stage could possibly save us from that as well. But now we're in the pit lane on well, the end of lap 5, start of lap 6. So 3.1 second stop, which I suppose isn't too bad at all. But yeah, rejoining the racetrack now, going back up into standard mix, and we're down in P16, but our teammate, you can see him there, he's in about P12 I believe, and Nico Rosberg in fact is in P15, so they have had shocking starts to the race, and yeah, we're going to have to dispose of them as quickly as possible. But skipping now later on onto lap 6, and Nico Rosberg is right there. I'm actually not sure whether Rosberg has pitted yet. I don't think he has, and he's been held up by De Resta. We're surely just going to take De Resta down the inside in a brilliant move there, and oh my word, we're getting the tail out. So we're just going to follow through Nico Rosberg at this stage. We're going to take a look at the replay of that, in fact, because you can see we actually have to brake just to try and get past and not damage our front wing, and then a lovely little drift there from ourselves to get up into P15. But that is going to be reasonably short-lived, I think. And yeah, Rosberg hasn't actually pitted yet, so he must have well, he's definitely come into some sort of trouble at the start, because we saw him fighting with us at turn 1. But anyway, we are up into P12, which will soon become P11 as we pass Vettel, who has had a very, very poor start to the race. But anyway, yeah, this is sort of the pit stop phase now, and Vettel there, you see him brake, and we've in fact just dispatched of him as a result. And Perez as well has had a poor start. I don't know whether he's already pitted, because it looks as if he's just gone into the pit lane once again. So he must have come into some troubles, and Vettel's also going slowly, so I think they may have had some sort of contact, which would be interesting to see. But yeah, I think the pit stop phase is just about coming to an end now. And I think that is Kimi Räikkönen, I believe, in the pit lane. But anyway, we're up into P5 regardless of that. And now we've got Sutil in the pit lane. And these are the the 2 stoppers, I believe, into the pit lane now. Adrian Sutil being one of them. And anyway, we are up into P3 regardless of that. And yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to try and hold this position. Because, like I say, there's just so many 2 stoppers. And there is literally no way we are able to do that. But we are up into the race lead now, as I believe Alonso and Button, who are theoretically P1 and P2, they've gone for option at the start, whereas we went option prime. But before we know it, we have got the fellow Brit on our inside. We're just going to let him through. We are not in the same race as him whatsoever. He has gone steaming past us, and all of a sudden the field just feels very, very spread out on lap 14, which is pretty interesting. But end of lap 14, start of lap 15, it is time to get a fresh set of rubber on the car, as Jenson Button in fact sets the fastest lap of the race. But we do a 3.1 second pit stop, which is pretty much standard on this game. And the guys have served us reasonably well so far this season. But back out onto the racetrack in P7, and we've got a little bit of overtaking to do. But I think on the whole, we're pretty much probably in about a net P5 at the moment, I'd say. We've got a couple of the 2 stoppers ahead of us, but we should be able to dispatch of them reasonably easily, one of which being Adrian Sutil. So yeah, we're sort of creeping up on him now, and it looks as if we're going to open that DRS to try and get past him. And yeah, at this stage, I have literally no idea where Sergio Perez has gone. So all of a sudden, we're just fighting with the 2 stoppers in this race. We go down the inside of Adrian Sutil, and that is up into P6 we go. So yeah, Mark Webber was just behind us as well, so we're pretty much clear of him. And Nico Hülkenberg, one of the other drivers that we're fighting with, as well as Kimi Räikkönen, who's in the pit lane. And then the only other driver ahead of us is Roman Grosjean, apart from obviously the front 2, who we haven't been fighting with all race. So all of a sudden, we find ourselves on lap 21, coming into the pit lane for the final time. That middle stint of the race was just sort of one where we were just sort of banging in the lap times, trying to be consistent with it, and all of a sudden we come out in P8 after our final stop. So we have got about 7 or 8 laps now to just try and, go as hard as possible. I don't believe after this set of pit stops, after this lap, anybody else is going to come into the pit lane. So now we've got a car side by side, but oh no, sorry, it's a Caterham. So it's someone that we've lapped, and now we've pretty much got a clean run to the flag. So the guys ahead of us are Hülkenberg, the 2 Lotuses, and then obviously the top 2 in the race. So you can see there, Charles Pic is holding up Nico Hülkenberg. What is he doing? Well, this is controversial stuff with just 5 laps to go in the race. And I believe now we're going to take a look at Nico Hülkenberg into the final corner. Going to go around the outside. He's got slightly older tyres than us, as we put ours on a few laps later. And we breeze around the outside of him, but the tail is out once again. And just like that move that we pulled on Lewis Hamilton, we don't get the DRS going down this pit straight. So it's going to be pivotal to try and hold him now into turn 1, or else we're going to face another lap in the dirty air of him and behind him. But surely this time we've got to go around the outside, which should turn to the inside into turn 2, and it does. Lovely little move there. We managed to make it stick, and now to chase after the 2 Lotuses for a podium position. Alonso bangs in the fastest lap of the race, but at this point we're just trying to close the gap on Räikkönen. It's down to 2.3 seconds with just a couple of laps to go, and now you can see as we're about to enter the penultimate lap of the race, we are just behind Kimi Räikkönen at this stage, and now the gap is just 1 second, but we've got the DRS, so we must have lost a little bit of time off that final corner there, but I'm sure we've more than gained it back by getting that DRS and now trying to turn into the first corner. You can just tell that our tyres are starting to wear out a bit, but surely it's now or never if we're going to get that podium place down the inside of Kimi Raikkonen. Lovely little move, little drama as possible. We've got our eyes firmly fixed on Roman Grosjean at this stage. We'll take a quick look at the replay in a minute, but you can just see a little lock up there. And we're less than 2 seconds behind Grosjean at this stage. But we're just going to take a quick look at the replay. Lovely move down the inside, I have to say. You know, no lockup whatsoever. So that was very, very nice to get that one done. But it's now towards the final sector of the race. And we are within 0.7 of a second of Roman Grosjean. It really is now or never as we come towards the final 2 DRS zones of the race. The final DRS zone will be cut short, though, of course, by the finish line. So it's pretty much this DRS zone or not at all. And we just go a little bit wide into there as Jenson Button takes the victory. Can we get our first podium of the season is the question. We're going to go into the final corner. We go on to Rich Mix, but I don't think we're going to be able to get it. We try and brake as late as possible, but Grosjean has just got the legs on us. That is so frustrating. Once again, the 2-stopping Lotus has outdone us on strategy, but it's P4 this time. And we are improving this season. So 22 points from the first 2 races is a little disappointing given the pace that we have, but we'll take it. We got a lot of overtaking done, and it was a very, very exciting race for you guys, it has to be said. So there you can see Jenson Button won by 11 seconds from Fernando Alonso. We were a full 22 seconds off the lead, which is incredibly disappointing seeing as we deployed the same strategy. Hulkenberg also did pretty well in 6th place, but as we look now towards the bottom half of the order, our teammate Sam Bird down in 16th place, and it was a brake failure, I later found out, for Sergio Perez, which is why he was a lap down in 22nd. There you can see the Drivers' Championship. We are leading it. Sorry, we're not leading it. I wish we were leading it. We're currently in 4th position, which is the same position as we took today. But yeah, looking at the Constructors' standings as well, it is Ferrari leading the way in that from Lotus. We are currently in 5th place due to our teammate not yet scoring any points. But guys, that concludes today's episode of The Ultimate Career. Next week, we will be at the Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix. So hopefully our luck will be a little bit better there. As I said, comment down below. Make sure to leave a like on the video. I'll see you for the Chinese Grand Prix. Hopefully I'll have a video though between now and then. But until then guys, take care. Bye bye.